Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM from New Orleans. Big thank you to the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who have basically been a part of this journey with me for the last several years. So thank you, Folgers. Couldn't do it without you, nor would I want to. Also, big shout out and thanks to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind the logos here at the show. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. Specializes in the Halloween and horror genre and does amazing commission pieces of any sort. So, whichever platform you were on tonight, please like, subscribe, share, especially comment. I am absolutely interested in what you have to say, and I do respond to everything. It may take me a bit of time, but I do respond to everything. Tonight, lots of fun. My fellow UPRN co-host of the Creature Code podcast, Angel Morgan, is joining me. She's an animal communicator, paranormal investigator, a voice for the ancestral. And tonight we're going beyond the physical, and we're going to explore the mystical world of animals. So please join us as we delve into the multiple facets of these amazing souls. Everybody's got a story, and man, I've got stories, and it could go off into so many different directions, but I promise you it's going to be fun. It's going to be informative and total UPRN badassness. Anyway, without further ado, please join me in welcoming my friend and fellow UPRN co-host, Angel Morgan. Hello.
Hi.
How are
Oh
you?
my God. So excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. So, hey, Larry.
And it's one of our favorite topics too, animals, because I know you're an animal lover.
Big time. Big time. Love animals. Love animals. And so many stories. It's just like you're always hearing about, you know, whether it be spirit animals, whether it be cryptid animals, whether it be, you know, just animals who do amazing feats or is intuitive healing. I mean, you name it, it is a thing. And it's just,
and it's getting bigger. And
Yeah.
it's getting bigger and bigger and more mainstream. Even 2 or 3 years ago, you weren't hearing about animal communications. You weren't seeing all of these Instagram reels about animals doing these fantastic things, whether it's interspecies relations or you know, saving children or what have you. It's become so mainstream, and I'm really grateful for that on so many levels.
Oh, I guess. I guess. Yeah, I mean, I get a little bit. Yeah. See, I was just get out of my head, Mish. This is what I was going to say. You know, they're animals, not human. How many people go out there and say they're not sentient?
I used to have that argument with my mother. My little girl. We would argue about the fact that, you know, do animals have souls? Do our animals? We're a very, very Catholic family, and I was very staunch about, you know, animals have souls. And I remember when I told my mom that I was an animal communicator. As a psychic, she completely turned her back on me. And I remember with animal communications, I called her and I said, look, I have something to tell you. And she goes, oh God, what now? And I remember thinking, wow. Yeah, exactly. Right there was a wow. And I thought, and I told her, I said, it turns out I can talk to animals, and there's a silence on the phone. And I'm thinking, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And all of a sudden she turns and she goes, now that I can buy. And I'm like, what? And I remember I almost fell off my chair. And she goes, yeah. She goes, when you were little, it was like animals were talking to you, like you were talking to the animals, and you would come in with these creatures in your pocket, and you're holding creatures you have no business holding. And so I find that where animals are concerned, people are more apt to believe in animal communicators, and they want to believe in animal communicators than they do anything else. I mean, everybody wants to talk to their animal. Everybody wants to be Dr. Dolittle.
Everybody does. Of course.
But you worked with animals too, haven't you? I know you have.
Spirit wise, I don't communicate like I don't have. If there's a telepathic thing going on, I'm a little thick.
No. But that's still animal communications. When you're
Sure.
talking,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I have, along with, my ethereal team, of course, but I have even like recently been able to remove attachments from them. Not a
yeah,
problem. And
yeah,
and that happens. But before we get into all of that, what I'd
yeah,
like to do is sort of get into animals as intuitives, being able to sense danger, finding illness with someone, doing miraculous things
yeah,
like, oh, my human's in danger, the barbecue's going to explode, and they pounce them out of the way, before something catastrophic happens. They find their way back like miles upon miles from home. Like
yeah,
there's just so much to them. So
yeah.
can we talk about their intuitiveness and these amazing abilities?
Absolutely. Some of it is a lot of it is intuitive. Some of it is physiological because we
Yeah.
know that when humans are ill, they can
Yeah.
actually smell the change
Yeah.
in their bodies, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes it's a very physical thing, and I believe that the physical and spiritual do have to work together. But I also know for a fact that animals' intuition is much higher than ours is. They can see the future, whether it's seconds before or minutes before.
Mhm.
Animals have told me, I've been in sessions where one dog actually told me that his tooth was really going to bother him. And I said, going to bother you? And he said, yeah, it's going to happen in about 2 weeks. And I said, well, how do you know that? And he said, well, I saw it in a dream. And
Mhm.
sure enough, 2 weeks later, his mom had to take him to the vet and he had to have a tooth pulled.
Wow.
Likewise, another dog actually told me about his mom's tooth. And he said that her jaw is hurting. And she goes, my jaw isn't hurting. I'm like, well, you know what? Keep it in the back of your head
Yeah.
and just kind of chalk that up to whatever you want to chalk it up to. And about a
Mhm.
month later, I get an email going, yeah, I ended up having to have a root canal. So
Wow.
animals can see and sense things that we
Mhm.
can't. And part of that, I really truly believe, is because they can connect to our auras, right? And they can see the change in our auras. They can feel. So they're feeling the change in our energy, our vibration. Animals connect mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual.
Mhm.
So when they're connecting on that emotional level, they're connecting on the most visceral part of who we are. When they're connecting on the mental level, they're connecting with every thought that we have and every visual that we have.
Mhm.
When they're connecting on the spirit level, well, that's, it's speaking to itself, where they're connecting to us spirit to spirit, right? And
Mhm.
everybody knows the physical: sit, stay, come, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I truly believe that animals' intuition is just on a different vibration, a higher vibration than ours, simply because we're only coming back to remembering, because we have that same ability. We
Mhm.
have those same ways of connecting. It's
Yeah.
just that we don't remember the way they do. We have this disconnect, these conditionings that tell us anything like that is Harry Potter.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. Hello, Heidi. How are you?
Hi, Heidi. How are you?
Yeah, it does make it so difficult because we come in here with this degree of amnesia, and yet animals are just, I have my little chihuahua. She was this little chocolate, like 2 pounder. She passed away a few years ago, but we were very connected, weirdly connected. My kids would say, "You just love her more than us." I'm like, not
Yeah.
more, but
I used to turn around to
much
my son and go,
maybe.
yeah, it's like I used to turn to my
Kidding,
son
but I
and go,
did.
he goes, you love that snake more than you love me. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I do. It's an actual statistical fact. Did you know that most people love their animals more than they do their spouse?
Well, not my kids, mind you. You know what I mean?
That's true,
But I
buddy.
mean, sure. I mean, this little dog, would have to have like part of a muffin in the morning, and she'd
Yeah.
have to like literally sit on me, and I would have my latte, right, and be down to like a drop, and she'd have to get in there and have some. I'm just like, I like a little person. It was weird. But when she passed, I actually within about 6 weeks when she was just stopped breathing, and I revived her every time. And then the last time I was just like, so it was a really weird connection that we had. And I could still hear her little bark every now and then, like in real time. People are like,
Yeah, for
"Where's
sure.
that?" I'm just like, you know,
Well,
that
this
was
is
my
you
baby.
well, you know what I teach people all the time is, when you're doing something non sequitur, like you're doing the
Yeah,
dishes or you're
yeah,
whatever, you're cleaning or that kind of thing, and you hear a bark or they show up in your thoughts or
yeah.
you could, something. It's because they are there. So we acknowledge them.
Mhm.
Right.
Yes.
So I always go, oh, hey Mumbai, or hey Severus, or whoever it might be. Severus was my healer snake. And when he
Yeah,
passed away, he had done ceremony with medicine men from Peru who were here in Canada.
yeah.
And when he passed away, I told them that he had passed, and they did this huge snake ceremony for him
Oh,
there.
wow.
Yeah, so
That's nice. That's
it's
beautiful.
yeah, it was really, really beautiful. But I remember the sorrow, like just it was a piece of me that had been lost, not just as a person and a pet family member, but
Oh,
also as someone I worked with. Like,
that's
like
that's
I
tough.
worked with him.
That's so tough. I mean, do animals hang back, like people do?
Yeah, yeah, some of them do.
Yeah.
It's not as often the case with animals as it is with humans, in my experience,
Yeah.
because animals are able to release and understand the cycles of life and death better than we are. They're
Mhm,
so present that that's what they think of. However, you
mhm,
do come across these particular animals who are so worried about their family members, or there's some sort of turmoil happening within the family that
mhm.
when they leave, it feels like unfinished business for them to leave, or they've
Yeah.
protected their family members for so long, or a particularly family member for so long that they don't want to leave.
Mhm,
I had a case of a cat who was the pet of a young boy who was wheelchair bound, and she loved her job. She
yeah.
didn't want to do
Right.
anything but be with him,
Yeah.
right? So that was a very fortunate incident in that she also reincarnated back to him to continue to do her job. So that was
Oh.
that was a cool case, that one was.
That's really awesome. I've had people say to me, especially when you're intuitive. I work with so many incredible people from around the world. I've spent, over 2 decades within the field of high strangeness. So you meet a lot of interesting people, as you know, right?
Yeah,
And it's interesting the stories I've heard. You're like, oh no, this is my dog who reincarnated from being my dog the last time. I'm like, how interesting is that? When you have a
yeah.
choice to come back as anything you want, but you come back again in the same role to the same person, it was such a strong bond.
That's love. You know what
Yeah.
I also say too, and this was something that occurred to me, it was shown to me just recently, in
Yeah.
fact. A lot of people will say to me, well, then why won't my dog or my cat or my bird or my snake reincarnate back into me? Did I do something wrong? And my
Oh,
answer to that is no, actually, you did something very right.
yeah.
Because when an animal doesn't reincarnate, it means you've helped them
Yeah.
lift their vibration so that they
Yeah.
can move forward to the next job that they have, the next incarnation that they have. And a
Yeah.
lot of times that gives people peace to know that,
Mhm.
okay, they're not going to reincarnate for me, but you know what? I help them get to the next level of who they are.
Yes, yes, and they may help with your next, furry companion. And this is what happened to me because I said her name was Peta. I said Peta. Peta was very unusual. Like she would love to snuggle, and she would bury her face in my neck, or she was just the way she snuggled and the way she interacted with me was very unusual. I've had a lot of pets, and it's never happened except for her. I said you need to send me another little pup who needs to be with a family who may not be in a best situation, but please send me one just like you. Well, along comes Gracie, who we got out of a very bad situation, a little long haired chihuahua, a little bit different. Her demeanor, everything is exactly the same as PETA. Everything, right down to the way she would pirouette at certain times and do things, and like PETA would almost spin until she'd pass out. If she was excited. And this little one does the same thing. I'm just like, it's so peculiar, but it is really, really awesome. So I think that they will play a role in trying to make a similar connection.
I agree
Um,
with you. I agree with you. And a lot of times too, animals will come back to help the new animal
yeah.
understand the family they're with.
Yes.
Animals have a very unique relationship to spirit because what happens is when an animal passes, they don't leave the family, right? They
Right.
make sure that the next animal has the information they need to make
Yeah.
their family happy, and to be happy, right? So it's pretty cool. Hello,
Yeah.
everybody. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of great comments. And this is something we will address. A friend of mine's 2-year-old cat kept sitting on her chest. Later that day, she had a massive heart attack. What made it even more strange that the 2-year-old cat died of heart failure when she recovered.
Yes, I've seen this before because animals take on our overload.
Yeah.
Even before I did this, I thought it was really strange. I lived in this community where this woman had inherited the dog of her father who had died of throat cancer. And he was a beautiful Jack Russell. I loved this dog. And 2 years later, sure enough, he died of throat cancer.
Wow.
What are the odds,
That is
right? So
insane.
I
Yeah.
truly believe that animals will take on our stuff, which is why I feel it's very important to cleanse them and clear them and to do this kind of work, not only in ourselves,
Mm,
but like we have a haunted items room in our home,
mm.
right? So the first thing I said when I moved in with my partner was, I don't care about you. I care about the animals. So we need to I need to bind this place. Like I need to make sure it's
Yeah.
protected so
Yeah.
that they're not affected and that they have as happy a life as we do. I
Yeah.
think those kinds of tiny little things are really important.
It makes a really huge
Yeah.
difference. See,
Yeah.
our last place was extremely haunted. And it wasn't haunted in a bad way. Not that things didn't rear their heads every now and then, but it did affect the animals no matter how
Mhm.
many times the place was cleared. You know,
Yeah, and I
it
mean,
just it just kept
for
happening.
sure. Oh,
Cycle.
for sure. Even me, like with some of the spirits that I work with and the different cultures that I work with, I'll have
Mhm.
an ancestor altar or have an altar in the
Yeah.
bayou in our back. And that's a place for the spirits to play. And
Yeah.
so when my dogs go back there, you can see the responses, you can see the
Mhm.
reactions.
Mhm.
And those are obviously spirits I've invited, so I know who they are, what they are, and
Mhm.
what they're not.
Mhm.
Thing.
Yeah. No,
Always about safety for me with animals.
it has to be because you know what? Just getting into, situations where we've had to clear animals many times. No, they're the silent victim. They
Mhm.
can't just speak for themselves,
Yeah.
and people seem to think only people get attachments. No, no, there have been pets who have died from
Yeah.
having attachments and just being
I
so terrified and harming themselves trying to get out of harm's way, I've
well,
worked with a family
I
who
mean,
their dog
honestly,
was in a kennel all day in a cage. Couldn't
mhm.
get out, couldn't get away from that, and the stuff that poor animal went through was just horrific.
I'm so sorry. I can't. Oh, see, to me, that's so
But it
hard.
happens,
Yeah.
and we'll
Yeah.
talk about that whole aspect, as we get through the show, but I'm just saying it really is,
I know people who work within our world and
mm,
there's jealousy as well. I know one particular woman, she created something that was so incredible to unite different cultures, like witches and vampires, regular, all that kind of stuff. And
yeah,
it's an amazing thing. And there were people who were so jealous and so against it that they threw things at the animals to get to them. And I was just like, wow, that's so not cool on
right,
so many levels. That says something about and the fact that there are even people out there that can do that,
yeah.
that just drives me insane, right?
Yeah.
That's when you kind of go, okay, what give me a jar. Who am I jarring? Give me a jar.
Mm. I think you and I are sharing a bit of a brain there, but but I love the deep spiritual connections that animals um, will have to people, because it's so unconditional.
Yeah.
And I think that over time, especially when I think people need to understand when you're dealing with a rescue, they expect animals to behave a certain way. You don't know what the backstory is,
That's right.
when you're bringing in rescues, I've rescued, oh my God, I've rescued cats. I used to have an aviary. So parrot rescue people would message me and to take them because I was equipped for large birds and for years, and a couple of decades, and dogs, and you know what? They don't know what they come from. And
Well, that's actually a lot of the questions. That's a big question I get from people who've rescued animals.
okay.
Is can you tell me about where they've come from? Can you talk to my dog or my cat and
Mhm.
ask them what their life was beforehand?
Yeah.
I had one woman, I loved her. I love her. She's great. But when I first met her, she was testing me. She knew the story of the animal, but she
Yeah.
asked me, she goes, I need to know what the story of the animal is. And I gave her the story and she goes, wow. And I said, what? And she goes, I already knew the story. I just wanted to hear it. I wanted to know that
Yeah.
animal communications was real. And I said, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's real. I mean, I started
Yeah.
as a disbeliever. I went to my first animal communications class because somebody dragged me there. Um,
Right.
I was in Guatemala, and they told me in a ceremony that I was going to talk to animals and make a difference in the world. And I told them they're on crack. Um,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And when I came home, a friend of mine took me to a healing center, and everybody was like signing these little binders. So I thought I'd, sign a binder, whatever. And about a week, 2 weeks later, I get an email saying, don't forget you have an animal communications course. And that's the first time I'd ever heard that term. And I
Mm.
was talking to my friend, and she goes, are you going? And I said, no. And she goes, oh, yes, you are. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to go to debunk it, because there
Ah,
has to be a limit somewhere.
ah,
So
yeah,
I went to my first animal communications course to disprove it. By the end of that weekend, there was no question in my mind, based on my own experiences and what I've been taught, that not only was this real, but I had to have more. I just had to
yeah,
have more. And here I am, some
yeah,
years later.
yeah. See, if you're meant to do it, the universe just sort of puts you right into there,
Yeah.
into
And you know that better
to
than
that path.
anybody else.
Yeah,
You know that better
exactly.
than anybody else.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You just go with it. There's no point in fighting it. I have to say a story with okay, I'll get to you, Rochelle. One second, darling. I remember filming at a location, and I'd often heard about how gifted horses are.
Mhm.
So this was a really malevolent haunting at this ranch. We went in, and I'm just standing there looking at the arena, the training arena. This was
Mhm.
the indoor side. I'll give you the backstory on this place in a moment, but there was a horse by himself in the stable. The other ones were out. They were outside. And I turned around and I said, there's something not very nice here. And the horse went like this, like, no, no. And I was just like, okay, I understand. And I said, have you been hurt? And it went like this. And I just kind of went, okay. I said, would you like me to get rid of it? Right off the bat. Then, of course, a ghost box session was done. This horse is in the background, just like going wild. And I'm just going, oh my God, like this is getting, gets crazy. But
Wow.
this location had a lot of malevolent activity, but it also had a large black cat sighting, one of the cryptid black cats
Oh,
that
yeah. Okay.
a mare sacrificed herself to save a foal, and somehow one of these things got in, and there
Oh.
was big claw marks all the way down the inside of a stall.
Oh.
Yeah, one of the horses was really, really sick, and this horse was just like, you know,
Yeah,
so
key signs, right? Key
got it.
signs.
Oh yeah, yeah. So it got
Especially
cleared,
horses, they're so sensitive.
but good for therapy as well. I
Yeah.
mean, mind you, all animals are, but what is it about horses that people gravitate to for therapy?
Yeah, so horses are very, very unique creature. They're liminal beings. So they live here, but they live in spirit as well. And so when you have that kind of healing spirit, people who are broken, people who are sick
Mhm.
and ailing will always tend to the closest thing that can heal them. And so, especially where are amazing creatures to be able to realign the spirit. When you're sitting on top of a horse, whether you're sick or not sick, you could be on an excursion in Jamaica. A horse will heal you in some way. I've always been of the mind that the horses are the dolphins of the earth. So the way the dolphins can communicate and heal, and how they're that vibrational childlike wonder and rainbow energy, the horses for the earth. And I've seen it many times. And because of that purity, this is the reason they're so sensitive to the paranormal more than most.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating, and I've had so many people over the years send me horse stories, and one woman was so close to hers that she sent me a spirit photo of her horse, and she sent a painting she had done and sent them together, and said, "I just wanted you to know, because it's one of those like awesome ghostly pet stories." And her horse, he stayed close to her for a while. She goes, "I could hear him in the stalls, and then one day it just stopped. Like he went on to the next level once he knew she was okay." And I'm just like almost sobbing, going, "Oh my God, what an amazing story that is!"
Yeah, I love those. I love stories like that. I've been with animals whose siblings have been present when they pass, because I do a lot of transition work.
Yeah.
And I always encourage that the animal siblings be present. And I remember 2 stories. I remember this one family. I love them. They're still my clients. And they have these 2 little dogs. And as their brother, Declan, was passing, one was on one side, one was on the other. And I remember I watched as one looked at the other and said, "Is it happening now?" And she went, "Shh, it is. Shh." And she just wanted to be in that space with Declan. And it was just the heartwarming conversation. It was like 2 children talking about death. And I don't think I'll ever forget that feeling. I'll never forget that those kinds of conversations. And the other one was, I remember when my cat passed away. Her name was Whitey, and she was an internet star. Everybody loved her on Instagram. And when she passed, I asked them if I could take her home to do ceremony. And I did. And I remember I put the oils on her and the herbs, and I put, the necklace of Bastet, and I wrapped her a certain way. And my cat, Yoshi, we had 4 cats, and Yoshi was one of the most sensitive. I remember he hissed, and then he stopped, and then he looked up, and then he's looking around. And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, she's around." Now you have to understand, though, Whitey used to just terrorize him in the morning.
So that was really sketchy.
This is one last hurrah that she had with him, right? But it was amazing to watch him connect with her, and you could feel her in the room. Like you could physically, palatably feel her in the room. It was an amazing experience. And my son, I remember when we buried Marble, because I've never hidden these things from him. He helped me with the ceremony with our orange cat. He helped me bury him. And I remember him saying afterwards, he goes, "Mommy," and I said, "Yeah." He was very young at the time. And he says, "Mommy," he said, I don't know if I feel okay." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "Well, I feel so warm, and I feel so peaceful." And I said, "But honey, that's the way you're supposed to feel."
Yeah. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, it was.
Rochelle says, with a pet story, my kitty passed. Oh, sorry. But there's a neighbor's cat that's picking me. They lock him out, so he tries to come to my house. I'm like, "You won't live here."
Yeah, good luck on that one.
Yeah.
Whether or not you choose to bring this cat in, that cat is a part of your life, and I think you are going to end up kind of letting it in. And if you do, that's okay, because I think this cat was not only meant but sent. I always say that, the cat's not meant, or the animal's not meant, it's sent.
Yeah, I love that. And sometimes just because, an animal resides in one place doesn't necessarily mean that's where it's supposed to be.
That's right.
Right? They always find they're humans. Jen says, "I learned the hard way. Never invite spirits into your home, as they can upset and attach to your animals." Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, unless you know who the spirit is, or they're there for a specific reason, I would
make sure it's exactly that spirit and not
something else.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like you need to know exactly what you're dealing with
Yeah,
animals, like children. It's like children, right?
it's
The
true.
innocents are the most tasty. So you have to
That's
be
true. Weakest
particular.
link. The weakest
Sorry?
link is the weakest link within the household is always the one that gets gravitated to first. And
Yeah.
who better than, a child or an animal that can't really speak out to
Yeah.
their people. She goes, "My dog Luna communicates to my deaf dog by puffing air into his ear as she's telling him a secret." I love that.
That is so sweet. And we do. Animals have this way of communicating with each other in most unique forms, you know?
Yeah.
I've seen animals who will just stare at each other.
Yeah.
I actually had a cat and a spider.
Yeah.
And my cat would sit under the spider's tank and just look up, and the spider would push herself up against the window. And it was so cool because it was like two little old ladies talking, and I never wanted to disturb them.
That's
It
funny.
just felt like two little old ladies. It was fantastic.
Yeah, definitely, odd,
It was an
friend.
odd pair. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely crazy. I love it though. Um, so what about looking on the flip side now? How do pets cope with the loss of their humans?
It's very, very individual. I've actually had a dog who, when his owner died, he didn't want to be here anymore, and no one was going to keep him here. No amount of animal communication, no amount of behavioral
Mm,
therapy, no amount of hugs and kisses. He just didn't want to be here, and he faded.
mm,
Other animals will understand the concept of death. So they understand that their human isn't here anymore, and
right.
they grieve, but they grieve differently than we do,
Okay.
because they process faster. Like an elephant who mourns its lost young
Yeah.
will take that in, mourn for a while, but then release it, where we take years and years and years. And then other animals will see their owners. So they're just like, okay, the body's not here, but he's here every day.
He's here.
He's like
Right.
constantly here. I actually did have that. I had a dog whose owner had passed, and the mother and the daughter were left behind. And that's the reason they had called me in, because they're like, he's acting really weird. I said, actually, he's not acting weird. He's trying to show you that dad is still here. Right. And they're like, wait, what?
Mhm.
And they said, yeah, that's why he's running around, stopping, looking at you, running around, stopping, looking at you, because he's trying to show you that he's in the room. To him, he's not even left.
Yeah. Wow.
So
So
I think
hard.
it's a very individual thing.
Because you know how you see every now and then those pictures online when you've got a pet just sitting at the gravesite,
Hmm.
like things like that just break my heart.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I've seen the ones where, police officers' dogs, their persons
Yes.
pass. And I think that's really tough. Like when I see that, that really pulls at me, because that's a very special relationship when you have a military animal
Yeah.
and they're human, or a police officer and their canine.
Yeah.
That's, they have their backs. They live with each other. They eat, they drink, they sleep. That everything is about that. So I think for me, that's probably the most hard hitting loss,
Yeah.
is when a person loses their canine, military, or someone in service, or the other way around. That's the hardest one for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so, so difficult.
And
Um,
I have to add too, before
oh,
before we
for
even
sure.
say anything else, I
Yeah,
have to
for
add too,
sure.
it's not just dogs and cats and birds, like
Mhm.
snakes will
Right.
feel the
Yeah.
loss as well.
Mhm.
When a snake is rehomed, when any animal is rehomed, they grieve that as well.
Mhm.
Some don't. Some are like, thank God, I'm gone. Yeah, just get me out of here fast enough.
Yeah. I
Um,
know.
but they do. They grieve in their own ways, and I've
Yeah.
seen that. I've seen it with ferrets. I've seen it with
Yeah.
snakes. I've seen it with arachnids. I in New Orleans, there's this amazing place called Cajun Encounters, And one of the guys there, one of the guides, he's so cool, and he loves the alligators and the crocodiles there. I can't remember if they're alligators or crocodiles
Yeah.
in the swamps that they take them through. And
Yeah.
so anyway, he had just come back from being off for a while, and this crocodile kept following us and following us and following us. And he goes, wow, he never used to do that. You know, it's just really great to see him. It's been so long. And I'm thinking in my head, because nobody knows who I am, I'm like, he missed you. He knows you're here. He smells you, and he missed you. Either that or he's hungry.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's the latter. Yeah. Or the first.
There's an animal communicator.
Yeah. It's like, oh boy. Oh, I've actually noticed it a lot with parrots, because like I said, I've worked with parrot rescue as well. And I have to tell you, people don't realize, I've had babies where I've reared them from out of the egg, literally reared them because they've been rejected by their mother, whatever, right? But I got very close to my first African gray, and every night without fail, around 10 o'clock, and she would act up at a certain time every night at 10 o'clock, and it was cuddle time. And she would cuddle in, lay her head on my shoulder, and she would just bury her little face down, and she would sleep for like about half hour, 45 minutes without fail. They don't realize how cuddly parrots are. I mean, I still have a parrot. I hold a parrot cuddles, like we've had tons like that. Animals or birds, it doesn't matter. If they have a connection,
That's
they
right.
have a connection.
That's right. That's right. I agree with that 100%. I remember one of the first cases I was ever on. They called me to the house because they had this animal that was particularly aggressive. It was a cat. And, this cat would scratch and bite, and they just didn't know what they were going to do with this cat. They didn't know how to deal with it, but they loved this cat.
Yeah.
And I walk in, and this cat jumps on my lap and starts to knead me. And they're just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I'm like, what is wrong with you? And they're just like, that's the cat. And I'm like, really? And I started to realize that day that people who truly come from a place of animal communications, because animals, they treat animal communicators differently. They do. Either they're friend or foe. There's no in between. And so you'll know people who have this gift, whether they know it themselves or not, because you'll see the animals connect to them on a very visceral, specific way. They will treat them differently than they treat other people.
Yeah. Isn't that funny how that works, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like they just seem to have that understanding.
Yeah. They can feel it. They can feel it. Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny because one of the things I teach too, because I don't just work with animal communications, I work with spirit animals as well.
Yeah.
And I remember being at this pet show, and I was on stage, and I was talking about animal spirits, and there was this little girl across the park, and I went, you over there, come here. And I asked her parents if she can come up on stage, and she could. And they said yes. And she came up on stage, and I said, you're snake medicine. She goes, what? And I said, you're like me. You're my clan. I said, you're snake medicine. She goes, I love snakes. She goes, I have 3 snakes at home. How did you know that? And I looked at her and I said, snake, no snake. Right? We can feel each other. Same thing happened to my son. We were at a fair, and we were in this place. It was all pictures of bears. And this guy comes up to me and he goes, I know you. And I'm like, okay, creepy guy. How do you know? Right? That was my, and he looks at me and he looks at my son and he goes, bear knows bear. And my son looked at me because he's little bear. He's Bear Clan.
Yeah.
Right? It was the coolest thing ever. Like it's beautiful because I think we're only now coming to the understanding that we connect on levels that we're not even aware of subconsciously, right? And that visceral, primal part of us calls to others who are like us, whether you're snake or cougar or turtle or worm.
Yeah.
I know people who are worm medicine. And when you learn how to work and live within your spirit animal, whoa, dude, your whole life changes. And whether you want to call it your spirit animal or your guide or your totem, whatever, it's part of who you are. And when you understand that, you understand you.
Yeah. And it's strange because they know it as well. Like, the animal knows it.
That's
See,
right.
For me, where it gets weird is I know a wolf is not my totem. However, I have had a very close relationship and connections to wolves my whole life. I could sit around them, I could touch them without any problems at all.
But
And
go ahead.
no, I was just saying
Well, that can be because there are 4 animals in our totem pole. There's not just the spirit. There's the spirit animal, there's the power
that's
animal, there's the guide, and there's the animal energy that works with us from time to time. So that one can change.
right.
For me, for you, I feel like that's where you get your power is the wolf. So I feel like that's your
Interesting. Thank
power.
you for that.
Sorry?
Yeah. I said, yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's oh, you're welcome. Yeah, because for you, you're the nurturer or you're the hunter. And that's what the
Mm.
wolf can represent. I mean, so much more than that.
Oh, yeah.
But when those animals come to you, they're normally a part of either they're part of your totem pole or there's a message for you. But because you've always had that
My
connection,
whole life.
yeah, then
And I'm
that's
old, people. So, yeah. Yeah.
yeah. You
Yeah.
look fabulous, darling. You
Thank
know,
you.
but the reality is I think
Yeah.
that is where you draw your power from is the wolf.
Yeah. Thank you. It's
Well,
it's always been a really amazing connection, to just be able to sit next to one, even like in the woods, and then you just have an understanding. And I
yes.
remember being on a school trip, and there was an Arctic wolf, and it was just a small run zoo sort of thing, right? And anyway, so I just walk up to the wolf cage, and I just kind of get under, and it's the wolf, like the Arctic wolves, they kept rubbing against the cage. I had my arms in, and and they're just like this, and of course, the owner comes freaking out, so I yank my hands out. I even knew instinctively this is going to go bad. I yanked my hands out, and the male went right for the owner, and the
Yeah.
female just kept trying to
Yeah.
to connect with me, and I was just like, they're all freaking out. I'm just like, I don't know, like, I don't have that problem with
Yes.
them.
Yeah, but they don't understand,
They don't.
right?
No,
We
no.
are so conditioned
Yeah.
in certain ways to behave a certain way with animals, or to
Mm.
see animals. How many people say to me, how many of my clients say, "Oh, I'm terrified of snakes." Well, guess what? You're sitting with one.
Yeah.
Right? You're
Yeah.
sitting with one.
Yeah.
So we have these conditioned beliefs that
Mhm.
and again, I get it. They're animals. They're animals. They're going to act a certain way if they're pushed a certain way. But if you don't push them a certain way, and if you have a certain connection to them, um, but yeah, I mean, I love working with spirit animals. I love working with, and you do. That's how you know that
Mm.
this someone that's in their totem pole is because of the way those particular animals treat them. When I was a
Mhm.
little girl, I loved jaguars. Jaguar was my thing.
Oh,
I wanted a
same,
jaguar.
same,
Oh,
same.
I love jaguars. In
Yeah.
fact, it was very interesting because to this day, I believe that I chose my son's father because his eyes were those of a jaguar.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting to find out later in the South American path, I had a medicine man turn to me and he goes, huh. And I said, what? And he goes, you're a jaguar. And I said, what? And I said, no, I'm snake. And he goes, no. He goes, but your power comes from the jaguar. And I went, wow. And all of a
Oh.
sudden, boom, it made sense, right?
Yes,
Always
yes.
following me around. That's
Yeah,
always been there in my life.
right.
Any of you, sit down, ask yourself, if you're listening to us out there, if you're watching us out there, sit
Mhm.
down and ask yourself, in your life, what animal has been the most prevalent? What's the animal that's been following you around? Because I can
Mm.
guarantee you there has been at least one.
Yeah, oh,
And
yeah,
that's
yeah.
either going to be your spirit animal, or it's going to be your power animal, or it's going to be your guide. How do you find out? Close your eyes and
Mhm.
ask.
Right.
And you
And
will.
and then also consider your ethereal animals, like your cryptid animals. I have had an
Yes.
intense, powerful connection to dragons my whole life,
Yes.
as has my eldest son, the same.
Crazy. Crazy you're saying that. I was literally just in New Orleans and I used to work with dragons when I was a kid. And I used to
Yeah,
love dragons. They were a thing for me. Dragons and
incredible energy.
and I kind of left that by the wayside. And I was in New Orleans. And since New Orleans, crazy how the dragons are going. And I think this is a time of dragons too, isn't it? I think
I
some of
think I think so. I mean, it seems to be everywhere.
yeah.
People apparently are having their sightings
Yeah.
as well,
Yeah.
you
Yeah. I
know?
noticed that.
like it's just, I don't know. It's always been an energy that's been close to me,
Yeah.
and it was weird, when my eldest son, right off the bat, was exactly the same way, and he goes, "Because it's just weird." I'm like, "No, it's awesome.
It's
It's really
beautiful.
incredible."
And
Yeah,
I don't think people do give cryptids and mythological creatures enough credit.
yeah,
I know one woman, she's a powerhouse. She's the CEO of a company in the States. She's like,
yeah,
she is a fireball. And it's really interesting that her spirit animal is actually the phoenix. And that's what she does with her life. She
yeah,
constantly evolves and re-evolves companies.
yeah,
That's what she does. She takes them from the ashes and she rebuilds
yeah,
them. And I thought, doesn't that make sense? And I didn't know this. I had no idea. And she
yeah,
goes, that makes so much sense. I'm like, it's so cool to see
yeah,
people's responses to finding out who they are and what they're truly connected to and where their power comes from. And I
mhm,
think that's really important because I think people are just starting to understand that knowing where your power
mhm,
comes from is
mhm.
so important, but so easy to
Yeah,
find out. What
it
is your
is.
element? What
Yeah,
is your animal? Right? What stones can help you? What tree belongs to you and acts as a
mhm,
part of you?
yeah. You
Right?
know what? I think where it gets tough, I
Mm.
mean, I can only speak for myself, but I'm sure people will be able to resonate with it. If you wear many hats, it's hard to connect. Like, I mean, I've been, you know, like essentially a medium my whole life kind of thing, right? I've had highly strange experiences my whole life. I've been an experiencer, ET, cryptid, ghost, paranormal, you name it. But I wasn't always in the field in media. And now, of course, I do so much creation. I consult on documentaries and creation of TV shows, things like that. But before that, what people don't realize is I also owned an oil company for 30 years and
Are you
ran it and
kidding?
owned it. Yeah. People don't understand. No, no, it's like not a problem. I mean, it indulged my fun job kind of thing. But no, I've done that. I've had a lot of different, positions with that. And I owned it, and literally it didn't matter where in the world I went. I could run it just flawlessly from wherever I was. So I wore many hats because there's not somebody people would know. But it was just like, you know, like I
But
would look at
you
that and kind of go, meh, I don't know, but I
But
understand the
but
position.
that also can be your guide position. Remember, there are 4 animals in our totem pole, and your guide position could be chameleon, right? And the chameleon guides you to all of
Yeah.
these different things,
Yeah.
right?
Who knows?
And you have that colorful nature to work with, right? And you're
Yeah.
also very good at being able to adapt to any
Mm,
situation.
yeah.
So, if we were to do work together, or you were to go into meditation, or just ask, because you're you, Michelle, you can just ask and
Yeah.
ask if chameleon is a part of your life, or what is that
Mm,
is your guide position.
yeah.
you know, I really, really think that
Yeah.
that's a cool one for you if it was.
It's different,
Yeah.
if it is, but I mean, I could see where people could get confused if you don't know and you're just trying to pin one down and you're like, but I'm good at this, or I'm good at this, or I've
But
done
that's
this,
where
or I've done
journeying
this.
comes in, right? That's where talking
Yeah.
to elders comes in. That's where
Yeah.
tribe comes in. I mean, I didn't know about jaguar until I worked with the medicine people from Peru. It took them to tell me,
Yeah.
right?
It's funny
And
because I
this,
do have lineage down from Peru as well.
yeah, you do. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. So you understand.
I do.
But we don't work in isolation. So,
No.
yes, it can be very confusing, but this is why having a path and having something to anchor us in
Yeah.
the spiritual world is very important. Like for me, it's animals, and for others, it might be something else, right? But I
Yeah.
really feel like finding what your animals are really important. There was one Aussie. I wanted to do you mind if we just take a
No,
look at
feel free, grab whatever you
that?
want. You want.
So
Yeah.
this is a really interesting one. All the lost dogs in the neighborhood come to our home. It's odd. Okay,
Yeah.
I wanted to address this one very specifically
Yeah.
because there are animal communicators out there. They're very, very, very rare, and they
Mhm.
work with lost animal cases.
Mhm.
And so if animals are coming to you, more than likely, if you're to step on my path, you have the unfortunate pleasure of being someone who works with lost animals. And I say that for two reasons. One, sometimes it can be very hard because you're the one who has to tell the family that, ooh, you know, your animal might not be coming back. But also the second reason, which is why most animal communicators do not do this, is because the owners are insanely emotional. You know, I had this
I
one.
can see that.
Yeah, absolutely. I had this one gentleman, and he swore to the gods that it was an orange cat who chased his cat away. And every time he saw an orange cat, he'd go flying down the street chasing an orange cat. Could be any orange cat.
Oh boy.
And what was really interesting, though, is that as I got to know the family, I realized that there's something off about this. And I talked to the animal. I was having a hard time connecting to the animal. When I finally did, I found out the animal just didn't want to come back. It didn't want the drama. It didn't want the trauma. It didn't want, because there was a lot happening that I found out even later. But the cat had told me about it. But I'm like, I don't know if I can buy into that. And then everything was revealed. So sometimes animals don't want to come back. They don't like the families that they were. How do you say that to a family? Right.
Yeah.
And the animal communicator is the closest thing that people can get angry with, or they can, you know, somebody wants somewhere to put that emotional information. And a lot of times it will be the animal communicator. So you'll find that there is a woman in Mexico. She does this, and she's 100%. She's incredible.
Yeah.
So I wanted to address that because, you know, that's something you might or might not want to consider if you ever stepped on this path.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. Someone has to do it.
I agree.
So
100%.
you know, you learn to be tactful as you move along. But let's jump a little bit to you know, the paranormal and animals. I'm weird with it. I know some researchers use them, you know, in investigations, and the only reason I get weird with it is because I've seen attachments happen one too many times, you know, or I've heard so many stories from the people I've worked and helped, where their animals have really taken a beating, so to speak, from them. So, you know, I know they're great for clearing energy, you know, especially cats. Cat can come in and clear the energy in a room, you know. But what are your thoughts on that?
So I did know a dog who was really made for this particular kind of work. That is rare. So in that particular case, I'm like, dude, this dog wants to be on site. It wants to be on location. And the dog belonged to a witch, and she was very, very good at protecting the dog. So I didn't have an issue with that.
Well, it's different because she knows what she's doing.
Yeah, she did. She did. So I had no issues with that. However, on the whole, you know, I don't think it's a good idea at all. I don't. However, there are going to be animals on some locations, like you know, the animals that actually live there. My first thing to do when I get onto a location and an animal lives there is, are there attachments? How is that animal doing? What has that animal been experiencing? But I have to tell you, one of my favorite things to do on location is work with the dead animals. They are so valuable to me. If anything, because I can connect to them so much more clearly than I can humans, although I can connect to humans and I do that work, I find that they're the ones who guide me on an investigation. They're the ones who take me, you know, to the ghost or to the situation. I can see through their eyes what's going on. So when it comes to spirits on location, I love it. When it comes to physical live, I don't see the point in putting them through that.
No.
They just
I'm very
more for the investigators than it is for the animal.
Yeah, well, because you know, animals can see things. I mean, people will ask me, "Well, how do I know something's going on?" I'm like, well, if you have a pet, follow their lead. They'll be looking in the right direction. They're going to react. If they react like they're okay, then you're not really. You know, chances of you being in really imminent dangers, probably not. Or your cat would be the first one, or dog, or whatever. Your pet will be the first one to react.
Oh yeah,
on an average, you know.
I remember there was we used to live in this certain area in Toronto, And I will never forget this. I had my cat on one side, I had my dog on the other, and this something, I don't even remember how it happened, but I opened the door and there was this woman standing at the threshold of my home, not on my property, at the threshold. And she cocked her head to one side, and you could see that she was ashen. She wasn't there.
Right.
And she said to me, she goes, Miss, she goes, I'd like to know if there's any room in your home. I'm looking for a home. And nobody knew that we were renovating our basement. Yeah, it was creepy. My dog, the bristles all went up. And this is a dog never does that. My cat started to hunch and hiss. And I'm like,
went out.
Yep. And as soon as I saw that, and I could feel it too, I just started on this path and I could feel it. And I looked at her and I said, no, sister, no, there ain't no room in the inn. And she tilted her head the other side. And it's almost like her neck was broken. And she looked at me and she goes, thank you. And then she went and she turned the hedge. Now you have to understand, after turning that hedge, there was nowhere to go. And of course, me being me, I went out, looked, no one there. And this particular area was very immersed in certain types of magic, certain types of ceremonies, certain types of culture. So it didn't surprise me, but I thought it was very, the animals is what really shocked me, that they were making me wear it. I remember Pat just looking at me going, dude, do you see what's going on here? Like, do you see?
Right? Yeah, no, let him come home with us, Ma. Yeah,
yeah, right. And I wasn't an animal communicator at the time. Some things are just obvious.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. I definitely, like I said, I get so funky about it, because animals do pick up on things, hands down, and putting them in necessarily. I mean, like if you're in a benign place, it's a little bit different, I think. I mean, heck, the whole world is just loaded with a whole other world that people don't realize. So, it could happen anywhere, but deliberately putting them in harm's way necessarily isn't, the right thing to do. Yet I've had people say to me, well, military, police dogs, I mean, they're in harm's way. I get it. It's a little bit different when you can't see your attacker.
Yeah.
At the same time,
and
right?
I think it's a little bit different too, because when we're putting animals in the physical place of work, they're trained for it. There's no way of actually training an animal to go on location, right? Yeah. Even as an animal communicator, I can work with my dog, my cat, my snake, and my snake is my everything. If I'm going to take anybody on an investigation, it's probably her, but I wouldn't, because how do you train an animal to, defend itself? How do you, there's no tactical training that you can give a canine.
Well, I think of the horse, and at the ranch I was at, I think of the horse. This is an intelligent animal. It's going no when it's answering me no. It's going yes up and down. Very intelligent. It knew exactly everything that was going on. And when we did this session, with the ghost box for the film, where it was right in front of the stall that had the claw marks. That horse was behind us, just like it. It did not like what was going on. It saw what was happening.
I remember stories growing up where people in Malta, where the graveyards were after the war, they would take horses into the graveyards to make sure that people were dead. And horses would rear up, right? It was a rare thing, but the horses would rear up, and they knew that particular person needed whatever they needed to do to, that kind of thing. Malta's a very superstitious island, but every once in a while, there's truth to things. So
I know people who live there. Yeah, there's some stories.
Yeah, oh yeah, you're not kidding. But they would utilize the horses as gauges. They were the EMF reader.
No, yeah, it's true. It's true. They're just amazing animals.
Yeah.
She goes, curious. Does a racing horse really want to be a racing horse? I guess
more times than not. No, they do not. This is like that. The reason I say that is because I work with a lot of greyhound rescues and things like that. These animals are born into it. And that's not something, you do get some horses who really do love what they're doing. but it's a rare circumstance. And I don't think it's even the racing they dislike so much as the training. A lot of times it's what's going on in the back end.
Yeah.
I find that a lot of trainers, riders, they don't understand their horses the way they think they do. And because of that, the horse's experiences are more abusive than they are, than they are positive.
So realistically, as a horse owner, if I was a horse owner, for example, I would want to bring in someone like yourself to say, what is the best way to deal with this? So the horse is safe, the horse is comfortable, the horse and the jockey jive. I mean, if you're going to do it regardless, that would be probably the best bet for anyone out there listening.
It would, but you will rarely find people in the race world who will connect with people like me, because they're very logical, very practical, this has to be done. It's an animal, right? A lot of people in the race world don't see them as anything but a commodity. Now that's not true across the board. Okay.
No, but with some folks.
Very good. Yeah, I do know owners. I know one guy in England. He's absolutely amazing, absolutely adores his horses. And he has asked me to come in before, but unfortunately the rider wasn't open, right? So remember too, you're not just working with one person when you're working in an environment like that. You're working with a team of people, and some people are just not open to it, which doesn't really help the cause, right?
So what about the free will thing then? Like Misha's saying, well, but then why do they do it? Isn't it like humans? The path we go through on life is a path we chose. Well,
so you're talking about the horse? Because I guess in some ways that's very true. I never thought of it that way. But before the animal comes into the world, they make a contract. And if they've contracted that I'm going to have to go through this, there could be various reasons for it. Maybe there's a past life contract they need to alleviate. Maybe there's something that they need to learn, or the owners need to learn. I was always taught on the South American path that, there's no such thing as a problem in life, only opportunities to learn and grow. And I do believe that animals have such compassion and such a love that even in the worst of circumstances, they always find either the learning or the compassion or the love. And I do feel like if I do go into circumstances like that gentleman in England who had the horse, it's more about the horse for me than it is about the others. Because unfortunately, in my work, I work with a lot of abuse situations. I work with a lot of rescue situations. And there are times when you can't do anything about it except be there for the animal as best you can.
Yeah.
That's all you can do, right? It's like anything else. I can't save the world, but what I can do is my best.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
And it's not easy. Like, it's really not. I had one day, I'll never forget it. I had two of my dog clients pass away, and one of them I had known since I was a puppy. In fact, I had predicted that dog. That's how long I've been doing this. And another one was an abuse situation. And then another one was a puppy mill situation. It was where a dog had been rescued, and I was there. The story. Yeah. And I was able to see the story. So I have 4 of these things happen in one day. And that's the one thing I'm going to tell anybody on this path. If you are new to this path, old to this path, I don't care. Have an outlet. Because I'm telling you, if I didn't have a gym to go to and do a run that night, I don't know how I would have dealt with those excessive emotions. So I think it's really healthy for people like us, whether you read humans, whether you work in the investigations world, whether you're an animal communicator, whether you're a witch or a healer, I don't care what you are, have an outlet. So when you have those days, you can express yourself and you can stay healthy, because you're of no use to anybody if you yourself are not healthy.
Yeah. I agree. You have to. You need the outlet. You need that release.
Yeah.
Kira says her dog barks at my son all the time. We've always wondered what she sees in him that she doesn't like.
It's not him. She sees what's around him. There is a guide who watches over him, and the dog is seeing the guide. So the dog's actually not barking at the boy. The dog is barking at the spirit. So this is what you need to do as mom. You need to sit down very quietly, close your eyes, and ask the spirit that protects your son to be around him, but do not present himself to the animals or anyone that he could scare. That's it. That's it. And that actually works, because you have to remember animals, and that's a really great comment. Thank you for commenting. The animals can see things on a different plane than we can. So they can see not just ghosts, not just family members, not just specters. They can see other animals. They can see guides and guardians, right? They can see all these other worlders. And so for me, I also set those parameters. You want to be in my home and you're of the light. I don't have an issue with that. So long as you don't, so long as you don't scare anyone, so long as you don't make chaos in my house, I don't have an issue with you, right? The second you do, you're gone. You're gone. Respect my rules. This is my house, right?
Boundaries.
So it's the same thing. It's, please just don't present yourself to my animals.
Yeah. Word to the wise, So when you're looking at spiritual roles, especially like cats seem to be the ones that are noted, even and revered through history, as being the one animal that negative entities just do not like.
Yeah.
Why is that? What is it about it? I mean, I know cats can just be a-holes at times.
No, I just don't know particularly.
Yeah.
They're really cool. However, having said that, Bastet is the goddess of the underworld. She is the goddess cat of Egypt.
Yes.
And so I truly believe that cats are endowed with the energy of Bastet, which is the energy of the underworld, which means that when a spirit sees a cat, it goes, oh crap, because you have access to the underworld, you can send me back.
Yeah.
So we know that there are people who can go into a location and the spirits they go away, they vanish, right? I have a friend, when he's around, they know he can do removals. They know that he can send them away. So they never come around. I think cats are that. I think because they're so connected to the underworld that they have that power, and the spirits can feel that, especially malevolent spirits.
Yeah.
So that's my theory.
Yeah, it's really amazing, because you see, somebody sent me, these video shorts a little while ago just on cats in paranormal situations, like, caught on their home baby monitors or cameras and things like that. And you see the cat seeing something and loses its bloody mind. Like whatever it is that's in there. And you see the cat just losing its mind. One was I guess the blanket coming off, the baby in the crib. Cat gets in the crib and just starts going crazy and gets right on there. And I'm thinking, my God, like it's very dramatic and very, very animated. But I'll tell you something. That cat just sat there, and all of a sudden you see it completely calm down, whatever it was.
And then you see the opposite with dogs. I've seen ones with dogs where literally there's, it's looking at something, whatever, and then it's being dragged off by the tail and it's whimpering. Like, so it's such a different,
it is, isn't it?
I feel terrible for dogs, but I do think cats are total kick-ass. They really are.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong on that. They're crazy.
Yeah.
She was, my sister-in-law's cat would sit on my head and my migraine would just disappear.
So that would be a healer cat. So that particular animal would be on the level of communication of spiritual, emotional. So on the spiritual level, they're a healer. On the emotional level, they give comfort, right? So that's what we call, so there's mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual. There's always, like humans, there's a combination. You're a physical, emotional person or an emotional, spiritual person, whatever. That particular cat would be emotional, spiritual. How an animal responds is you can very clearly see what their love language is, what their level of communication is, and that one is clearly, emotional, spiritual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. And a cat's purr allegedly can heal you.
Yes, they will purr at different frequencies depending on what the illness is. Yeah. Yeah. And I've even seen cats who will lay on the beds of seniors, and those are the seniors who will pass the next day or in a few days or what have you. So I've seen cats and gatekeepers that way as well.
Wow.
They're very unique. Another unique animal is actually the turtle. I find turtles can be incredibly healing. So I've noticed, I have a friend who's a psychologist, and she was playing around with this because we were talking. She goes, I want to try this. And she has a couple of children who are ADHD.
Yeah.
And so what she did was she had them sit with turtles and turtle medicine for about an hour, and they calmed right down.
Mm-hmm.
They did it again with dogs. Different response, not as calm. The energy of the animal, regardless of whether they know what the symbolism is or what they are, will affect a person. So if you have somebody who is really wound up, the last thing you want them around is, a mosquito kind of thing, the mosquito medicine or even mouse medicine. But if you have someone who is really, really calm, that's maybe when you want a little bit more zip in their zing, and you put an animal who's a little faster with them. Right. So it just, hummingbird medicine is perfect because hummingbird is stillness and movement and stillness. So when you are bored or quiet, how do you keep moving within? Right. Or if you're a really erratic person, how do you stay still within? And that's when we call on hummingbird. So for everybody out there, just know that you can call on the animal medicines too. You can put out your left hand and you can actually say, I call in whatever animal energy is necessary for me right now. Feel that or know it's in your hand, then place it somewhere in your body. And that will work with you for, probably the day kind of thing. And then it will dissipate.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's true.
It really works.
We'll have to try that. Wayne does that with chickadees. Wayne says, Dexter, our Bengal, does not purr. Not ever, not once. He's so hardcore. He's such an a-hole. I
love that.
He doesn't like being picked up. He doesn't like anything.
He's a serval. Well, he's meant to be wild, of course.
Right. He's a Bengal.
Bengal.
Yeah. No, not a serval. He's a Bengal, and his litter mates picked on him when he was a baby because they chewed off his whiskers, and he was never the same after that.
Poor guy.
I know. He's always just been like really sketchy, and I mean, I won't say he never purrs. I've heard him purr a couple times, but honestly, he will not sit on you. Wayne like forces him.
If I thought someone was going to bite my whiskers, I'd probably not sit on anybody either.
I know. He just tolerates. Wayne goes, he won't sit on anyone. I force him. I force him just to let me love him. But does.
I will tell you, Dexter is also spirit level animal. So spirit level animals can communicate on all levels. These ones are the ones who come in your dream. These are the ones who will lie on your feet at night. These are the ones who will hold space for you, protect you on spiritual journeys, whether you're doing ceremony. Because they're so in the spirit world, even if they're alive, they're so connected on every level. These are the ones who are over, like they have so much energy. It's like they'll only come to you when they can come to you because it's touching them is so sensitive. Like they're so sensitive. They're overly sensitive.
He hates it.
Yeah.
He'll growl at you after a while. And I'll tell you something, okay, with like dramatic, because if he's at that level, well, he's very eccentric. He needs his bowl moved 1,500 times. And I want to eat it here now. Well, forever. Wayne's always moving the darn bowl around because a cat won't eat the whole meal unless it's been moved to different spots. He has a heating pad. Then he sleeps up near the air conditioner on a heating pad. It's bizarre. We just indulge him.
And that's it. I think that's sometimes a potato is a potato and a turkey is a turkey. I think this is just his personality. Like some things are just his personality. These are his quirks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like I've never seen a cat like that. I mean, my last Bengal, you could throw him over your shoulder and he would just hang there. He loved it.
Well, that's it. Bengals are usually like that. Yeah. But this one, again, he's spirit level. And again, look at whose home he's living in, right? So he's going to be extra sensitive.
Oh, he's sensitive. All right.
Yeah.
In many, many ways. But, but we love him for who he is. He tries to poke at the Chihuahuas a little bit and they're not having it. So it's always an interesting thing. But do you think animals have this like built-in compass sort of thing because they can be miles and miles away, like in another state, and then somehow just end up back home with their people, even if it takes 2 years?
No, No, I don't.
Oh,
I
no.
truly
So how
believe
does
it's
that
their
happen?
guides and their guardians. I truly believe,
Ah,
because I've worked on cases like that.
yeah.
And every single case I have worked on, it has been the guides and the guardians. It has been animal spirits who
Ah,
have guided them,
yeah.
protected them,
Wow.
ancestors of the family that wants them back.
Yeah.
There's always something, right? I do
Yeah.
believe that, yes, okay, they probably do have a compass, but you got to ask yourself, how did they get lost in the first place? Right? So,
Yeah.
my theory is
Yeah.
that when an animal is lost, they can be found. But the circumstances of what's on the other side, right? So
Yeah.
the guides, the guardians, the ancestors, the spirits of the land
Hmm.
can also help. For me, if it's an animal who's lost and I'm working on the case, I'll actually send my guides. I have 2 wolves that I work with,
Yeah.
and I will send those wolves to guide the animal back.
Yeah.
So
That's
I've always
beautiful.
been very successful with my cases.
Yeah.
But that's because there's other stuff. I'm not just animal communicating. I'm not just trying
Yeah.
to figure out where the animal is. I remember I had this one girl, her animal was lost. And finally, she told me, she goes, I keep dreaming of him. And I said, what? And she goes, yeah, I keep dreaming of him in different spots. And I said, okay, this is what you need to do. I said, you need to, tonight, when you go into the dream, see where he is and ask him to follow a certain path and show him how to get home in the dream. She did it. The next day she came to me, she goes, he's got an injury. And I said, okay, so
Oh,
tonight when you go to sleep, what you do is you show him where the nearest person is that can help him and show them that he's safe, right? Because apparently he was still in the area and there was someone he could go to. The
mhm.
next day, the neighbor found him, brought him home. And I was like,
Amazing.
girl, you did so good. I can't even, like, this was she was like 16, 17.
Amazing.
She was
Amazing.
incredible, but it also helped her learn about her own abilities, right? She
Yes.
was
Yeah.
lucid. She knew what she could touch, she
Yeah.
could feel, she could communicate within her dreams with animals, not with humans, only with animals,
Yeah.
right?
That's incredible.
That was an outstanding.
Yeah.
I have to date, that was probably the coolest lost animal case I'd ever worked on. And it wasn't even me that found the animal, it was her,
Yeah.
right?
Amazing.
It was amazing.
It is. It is totally amazing. Well, we're talking about guides then. So, can your pet come back as one of your spirit guides?
Mm-hmm. My snake Severus, the one I was telling you about earlier, who they did that ceremony for them,
Yeah.
he now works with me in spirit.
Yeah.
So whenever I do healing work, whenever I go into ceremony, especially if I go into
Mhm.
hoodoo ceremonies or voodoo ceremonies, he's always with me, right? I
Yeah.
had a little snake who passed away at about 8 months.
Mhm.
And we knew there was the potential when we adopted him that he could pass.
Mhm.
But the time I had him, he's so viscerally connected to my psychic abilities. Like
Mhm.
I'd never experienced anything like I experienced when he was living with me. Now crossed over, he works with me on a very psychic level. So
Right.
yes, your animals can work with you. They can guide you. I believe guides are guides, angels are angels, demons are demons. That's the way they're made.
Yeah.
However, your ancestors and your spirit family. So your ancestors are your blood family, whereas your spirit family are your friends and your animals and those
Mhm.
people who have affected your life.
Yeah.
So they're my spirit family and they work with
Mhm.
me. When I call on them, they're always there. So yeah,
Mhm.
I definitely believe they can guide us. Absolutely. If I
Yeah.
need information, yeah, I'll call on my animals. I had one dog who passed away at 3 years old. He had hip dysplasia. And every time I saw him in a dream, I knew something good was going to happen within 3 days.
Wow.
I just
Yeah.
knew, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
I
it's
think
like
they
Peter sending us Gracie. Like they
exactly,
can. They can.
exactly.
I mean, this is a sad story here, which, and I'm going to mention it because Pixie was a little Chihuahua that we rescued from. Uh, Peter was from Texas. She was from California, so they're puppy mill dogs.
Before you keep
And
going, hi Wayne, thanks for coming.
and a medium had said to him, he goes, because she came right up right away, and he thought it was a little girl, but it was Pixie, and she loved me. Like I fostered her because my daughter was involved with fosters,
Mhm.
and but I had 3 at the time. I'm like, oh, okay, don't get too attached. Don't get too attached. Wayne, what does Wayne do? He gets attached. So
Foster
anyway,
Wayne.
I know. So of course, Pixie got added to our little fur family, but Pixie was only 5 when she passed. She ended up,
So
I
sorry.
truly believe that she found us because she knew we would care for her. She had strokes, she had seizures, she lost her vision, she got partially paralyzed to the point where I had to syringe feed her for 8 months until finally she got strong enough. The vet couldn't believe it. I turned her into a bloody tank, this little baby Huey, like she used to be. But, she couldn't see. I
Yeah.
mean, nothing. And finally, we always said to her, though, I said, you fight, we fight. I'll fight. I'll syringe feed you the rest of your life. I don't care. But when you're tired, you let us know. And she did.
Yeah.
She did, and when she got tired, that
Yeah.
was it. So Wayne is just like, he goes, to be told that she came here for me,
Yeah.
not the other way around, as like she would not have survived out there with everything that happened to her. It's probably why the breeders got rid of her in the first place
So
at
two
a young
things
age.
about
Yeah.
Pixie that you need to know.
Yeah.
This dog was definitely here for you, but
Yeah.
you remember what we talked about earlier in the program when I said that when an animal doesn't reincarnate, it's because you've helped them
Yeah.
clean the contracts they need to clean, the blindness, the illness, all of these things.
All of
We
that.
believe as healers that when something needs to be addressed internally, sometimes we have to purge it externally. And I
Yeah.
believe each of those illnesses that she went through was a contract that was past life that she was purging and cleaning.
It was
And you guys helped her with that. So in
um,
turn, you were taught, you learned how to love more deeply. You learned who you were as human beings and more, right?
yeah.
So that was the reciprocation, because it's always reciprocal, right?
Oh,
You,
yeah. It was a journey.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah.
that's there. She's trying to show me that she really loves you, but you don't know how much you did for her. Like, you have
Oh,
no concept,
oh, yeah.
because she now is so clean and so beautiful. She's been able to shed all of those things so that she can always be healthy, right?
Oh, well,
So,
thank you for that. We're
yeah,
happy to hear that because
yeah.
Wayne was like, we got her, she was 9 months old as a foster. He would stretch his legs out. She would run across the room, run right up his legs and just like he was her person. Didn't
Yeah.
matter what I did,
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
she
I'm reading what Wayne is saying. I had
yeah,
that same incident with that 8-month-old snake. I was coming home from shooting my TV show,
yeah.
and I heard, "Mommy, I'm afraid. I'm scared." And I
Oh,
said, "It's okay, honey. You don't need to be afraid, and you don't need to be scared." And this chill went right up my spine, and I'm like,
oh,
"Oh, stop!" And I
yeah.
got home just before he passed.
Oh,
So yeah, I totally believe Wayne heard that. I totally believe
yeah.
Wayne connected
He
with
had a really good connection,
yeah,
to her. Like, I mean, I was the nurturer as far as got her through that step because it takes a lot of you have to know, like syringe feeding, like little bits for forever, and but he basically the whole
yeah.
way through. I mean, we
I
had
think
it
both
because
of
of him.
you did so much for all
Yeah,
of you, right? I
yeah.
think it was not only a team effort, but it was a team
Oh,
learning,
oh,
right?
for sure.
Which is so beautiful. I think you're
He
so
was hers though. He was hers.
yeah,
So, but I'm glad that she's happy and all of her karmic stuff,
yeah,
everything is gone from
for
here
sure.
on in. I'm glad
Clean,
because
absolutely clean, and I can see that. Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Um, one of the other things that we need to also kind of address too is that, you know, oh shoot, I lost my train of thought. I was talking, and it had to do with Wayne too, and I forgot
oh,
now. Yeah,
yeah.
he put me on that train of thought. Oh well, it's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's okay. Yeah. I think animals choose you and she chose him like right away. And I'm glad that it worked out that way because, it was a really beautiful bond, much like what I had with PETA. But
Mhm.
now they have these events where they bring in rescue animals and you get a room filled with people
Oh, I
and
love those.
right? And the animal chooses the person.
That to me is the most rockin' idea ever.
Yeah.
Whoever came up with that is a saint, and there is a
Brilliant.
special place
Yeah.
in over the Rainbow Bridge for them.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is, I have never that I can't even get it. I am in tears every time I watch those
Yeah.
moments.
I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, beyond brilliant, beyond brilliant, because we're giving onus to the animals. We're giving them some power. We're honoring who they are. We're saying you have choice,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that makes the connection more visceral and stronger and
Yeah.
magical.
Yeah.
You know?
Still makes us feel great though.
Yeah.
But I think it is a wonderful idea. It's brilliant. And I think it is the way to properly choose because
Right.
if animals, as you say, are more intuitive than we are, then it would make sense that they're going to find their person.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
And that's not to
Yeah.
say when you walk into a shelter, you walk in somewhere
Mhm.
that you don't feel the connection or the proper connection isn't
Yeah.
made. It's just that I love that they've turned it around.
Yeah.
I love that they're honoring in that way because we've never done it. It's very new,
Mhm.
it's very fresh, and it's very
Yeah.
real. You
Yeah.
know?
And you know what also is um there have been I remember watching this television series many years ago now, but it was prisons rehabilitation center where
They
they
have
would train rescue animals
yes,
for
yes.
being whether it being a CNI dog, whether it just being seizure like companions for people
Mhm.
who suffer from seizures. I thought, my God, like it worked for both the pet because the pet stayed with them 24/7.
That's right. I've also seen a particular prison, and I believe this prison's in Texas,
Yeah.
and they have a program, a rehabilitation program, where the prisoners are allowed to have animals, cats very
Yeah.
specifically. And if they take care of them, that's great. If they don't, they get them taken away. And it's
Yeah.
actually changed the entire dynamic of
Yeah.
what's been happening in those prisons, which
Yeah.
I think is so very cool. I think animals are healers by nature. I think
Yeah.
they're viscerally. I mean, you get the odd, one that's a
Mhm.
little bit of a dick, but they
Yeah.
truly are
Yeah.
amazing, amazing creatures. And I have met some who are not very nice. I have met animals who are, they're more than sassy, and
Yeah.
monkeys. Monkeys. I love monkeys, and I love talking to
Cute.
some
Yeah.
monkeys, but
Yeah.
I've had monkeys that are just really bad mouth, bad mouth. No, 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 you don't talk like that. And it's
Salty.
not always words either. It's not always
Yeah.
words. Sometimes it's a feeling that you get. Like you can feel when a monkey tells you to,
Bugger off. Yeah.
yeah, bugger off. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can feel that, and you're just like, "Are you joking right
Wayne
now,
says Dexter.
Dexter?"
Dexter the cat. Yeah. That
But
is funny.
and every animal communicator does have their forte. So I can speak with any species, but my
Yeah.
forte is exotics. So my clearest channel is with them. And I've been very, very fortunate in that I've been able to work with many exotics. And it is a very different feel than a
Yeah.
domestic. It's a very different feel or communication or conversation than a wild animal.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
it's amazing life. I can't say it's not. I encourage everyone, whether you do this profession or not, I
Mhm.
encourage everybody to take an animal communications course, learn how to talk to, even if it's just for you and for your animal, or to
Yeah.
learn about animal spirits. Take courses in that. Go learn about your animal, because every time you do this, not only does the animal world need us, but you're
Mhm.
learning about you. You're deepening your relationship with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's wonderful. I do. I love what you do. Wayne says, my sister sponsored a rescue farm to rehabilitate a donkey. And they did not want to be identified as the sponsors, but they came back later and the donkey came directly to them
Yeah.
and wouldn't leave them.
Yeah,
They
for
knew.
sure.
They're so cute, donkeys.
How many times have we heard those stories
Yeah.
about, zookeepers coming back years later, and, the gorilla or the lion knew who
Yeah.
they were. I've had instances like that where I had a couple come to me just recently, and I haven't seen them in years. totally didn't know who they were. I completely, because, we see a lot of people, like we're talking like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So anyway, they had a new animal, and the animal came up to me when he goes, "You know me." And I'm like, "What?" And he came over to me and he touched my nose. And the second he did that, I remembered him from years prior, this animal. And I was just like, "Oh my God, you remember who I am."
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing. It was an amazing connection. And it is amazing to feel like they remember you, like you weren't just a blip in their life.
Yeah. It's so interesting, isn't it? Do you think it would work the same way with, like, I'm going to go outside the box a little bit. Do you think it would work the same way with cryptids?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. If anything, I think cryptids are beyond us, beyond animals. They're on a whole other dimension, a whole other level of wisdom and understanding.
Yes.
I know that because I've had encounters with cryptids. I had a cryptozoologist on my show, Creature Code podcast. His name was Cameron Bagg, and he was amazing. And I was just like, I'm flipping through his stuff and I'm like, okay, this is cool, whatever. And all of a sudden I hit this picture and it literally put me on the floor. I was in Guatemala years ago, and they told me that if you connect to our land, then you will begin to see animals in the trees. And after my ceremony, my animal communication ceremony, where they unlocked this, I remember I was on the side of a volcano, this villa, and I could see the volcano in front of me, and I could see this deer going through the leaves. But that wasn't the cool part. The cool part was, as soon as the deer left, I could see this man's face come out of the leaves. And I remember bowing to it, and then I went back into the mountain. When I got back to Canada, my friend who owned the Hedge Witch in Newmarket, I went into the store and she goes, "Listen," she goes, "I'm supposed to give you this." She gave me a stone, and she turned it around and it looked like the face in the mountain. Well, flash forward many, many years. Cameron has a picture of a cryptid that looked almost exactly like that.
Wow.
And I could hardly breathe when I saw it, right?
Yeah.
The communication I had with that cryptid, because again, I found it interesting right after my animal communications, because they were trying to show me, it's not just animals. There are other things out there that you're going to connect with.
Other beings.
Other beings, other entities, other things that can be likened to this. Yeah, I feel like that's a whole other level of communications, and they know so much and they feel so much. It's just so beautiful. It really,
I tend to wonder, like, I've always felt drawn to Dogman, ironically, basically because of my connection to wolves. And I've had people say, you really should try and see, how you would feel about that.
yes.
And I'm like, I'd be probably pretty excited. I had a guest on the show who had a little baby cub, like a Dogman cub, and the mother just watched him. But he's very gentle. He's indigenous, very gentle. I'm like, I wanted like baby Dogman. I wanted, I want a little woofy, right? And he starts to laugh. I have to come and hang out with you because I really want this experience.
Right.
And I think that's exactly what it is. I mean, I tend to wonder if that would be like a plausible.
Absolutely. I was just in New Orleans, and there was this man in the Paracon. So the New Orleans Paracon is new. It was the first year. And the whole concept was we were bringing all the different cultures under one roof, witches, vampires, psychics, investigators. And it was so successful. It was stupid. Right. And so anyway, there was this man who was coming through, and I remember going, what is it about this guy that I'm connecting to? And every time I saw him, there was this visceral primal energy. It was animal, and I couldn't pin it. So one night we're in ceremony, and everybody's introducing themselves, and they introduced him as a Rougarou. And I went, of course you are. Now, for those of you who don't know what a Rougarou is a type of werewolf.
And in Canada, they're Loup-garou.
That's right, Rougarou. Yeah. And what's really funny is they are North American, the Rougarou. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. Maybe it's Rougarou.
Yeah, Rougarou is New Orleans. Loup-garou. Loup is French for wolf. And so up here, it's Loup-garou.
Okay. Oh, see, I didn't know that. This is a new concept for me. This is new. Yeah. So I'm like, of course you are. Of course, that's what it was. Yeah. And I acknowledged him for that. And the way he said thank you, you could see the wolf in his eyes.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. So for me, I think it goes even beyond cryptids. It goes
Yes.
into the different cultures that are the ones we are just beginning to acknowledge or just coming to the surface, whether they're vampire, whether they're, Rougarou, whether they're witches, whether
Yeah.
I just feel like communication it's non-human and it's
Mhm.
nonverbal, right?
Yeah.
When we see each other, we know each other on a level that is so magical.
Yeah. And I think it's just it's to recognize that,
Yes.
having your familiars, and for them, we're their person.
That's right. I agree. Whether they're here or on the other side, you are
Yeah.
chosen.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
And as
pretty
an animal communicator, I just felt so two-dimensional before I was an animal communicator. And now I feel whole, right? This is who
yeah.
I am. And as much as I love working with humans, there's so many people working with humans.
It's true.
Wherever I go, I'm so unique. At the Paracon, I was the only one, right? Wherever I go, it's still very new. The oldest communicator that I know has been working for about 50 years, and she actually specializes in horses.
Yeah.
So it's actually a rather new discovery. And I'm so pleased to be at the forefront of that now.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. I've interviewed, like, out of all my years of interviewing people or working with people, I think I've met 3. And
Real.
one of those is one who I had, used for my pets many years ago, who told me things about I had just brought in 4 little rescues, and I said, "All I need is a picture." And it was so funny because I just sent her a photo. She goes, "I don't need names. I don't need anything like that." And it's funny, she goes, "Okay, the little brown one over there thinks she's the center of the universe," which was PETA. I'm like, and
Yeah.
what's the problem with that, right? But it was funny how she pegged it, and then PETA knew, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, right.
Yeah,
Was it
but
by any chance? Was it Sheila Tricarton that you worked with?
no,
Oh,
no, I have her in an email somewhere. It's been years, like, since
yeah.
we've communicated, but, yeah, I've only interviewed maybe 2 people who
Wow.
were yeah, so
Well,
you're right.
thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for choosing me because
Oh,
that's because
thank you.
I geek over you. I think you're the bomb.
Oh, well, thanks, and ditto, like, I'm glad you're part of our UPRN family, and
Yeah, me too.
you're a wonderful asset, and you're just bringing all of your knowledge and wisdom to the
I just
masses,
feel
and
like this is the best family ever. I
thank
really do.
you.
I think out of all the things, because I've done radio shows before, I was with News Talk 1010 and I've done
Yeah,
Stouffville Radio and I've done,
yeah,
this is where I have felt most comfortable. I also think it's the people, but I think that's the energy of the Mississippi. I think it's
yeah,
the energy of New Orleans. I think it
yeah,
really imbues, their magic on this station too. So
yeah.
I think it's just the whole package,
Oh,
and I'm
thank you.
so
It's very
blessed.
laid back, it's very, and everybody
Supportive.
yeah,
Supportive?
yes,
Oh my God. I have never seen a network so supportive.
yeah.
Never. This is
Yeah, thank you. We all have each other's back. We
yeah.
all, work together. As you can see, there's a lot of, crossing going around, and it's wonderful. And everybody who shares everything up, thank you all. Hardy, thank you, thank you.
Yes, Heidi. Thank you. She's always
Yes,
there. Eh? I love it. I
is
love
is
it.
is
And I,
true.
I, I fair to guess Heidi spends most of her day listening to most of the shows. Lucky her.
It's true.
It's
Lucky
so
Heidi.
cool. She's so
Uh,
cool. I love
and
her.
thank you. Yeah, I always say our chat family is
Yeah.
wonderful. I have one of the
We hear every
best the best chat rooms ever. I don't need a moderator. I don't need, if somebody gets out of hand, it's not hard to deal with because it's so few. I've had many people say, we get leery about commenting in the chat room because they're worried about, is it going to cause something? And it's just like, no, I don't tolerate anything other than people being kind to one another because it's an insult. Even if you're insulting my guests, you're insulting me, and you're
That's right.
insulting the other people that you're sitting here kind of blubbering off about. So it's just like, no, we don't show it. And yeah, we are family. It's exactly right.
I've been very, very fortunate. I've only had amazing commenters, and you know, I think we're creating a kind of a little group for the Creature Code podcast as well, which airs on Mondays at 4 if anybody is interested. This week coming, actually, we are now gearing up towards Conjure Camp, and that's a voodoo camp that's held in Niagara every year. And so my guests are all going to be speakers and organizers of Conjure Camp. So next week we have a witch doctor who actually was trained in New Orleans, and he's just magnificent, and a magnificent drummer too. So he's going to be.
Yes, he is.
Really cool. Outer Realm is where it started for gratitude for me. See, right? Like, it's just such a great place to work.
Yeah, thank you.
And you know, I have to tell you something. I was really leery about doing this because I'm not very disciplined. And my greatest fear was that I wasn't going to be able to show up once a week and do the work, right? Because I'm just like, okay, I don't feel like doing it this week. And I'm so fly by the seat of my pants, Gemini. And I can't wait every week. I don't care what I'm doing. I don't care what, I just have to put it aside because it's my time to do the show. And God forbid the dogs bark downstairs, because they're going to get an earful later. So,
but you know what? It doesn't even matter. You know what I mean? Like, I've had guests come on.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time it happened, there was a guest sitting there trying to have a serious conversation with me, and his cat walked across the path. And I started laughing, and he's like, he was mortified. I'm like, stop it. Everybody started going off. I'm like, oh my God, look at the cat.
My dog does that. So every once in a while, I'll think my door is closed and it's not. So she'll come in to see how I'm doing. And I'll be like, hey, it's a superstar. So I love it when my animals are around.
Yeah, I love it too. I love it to be laid back. I just love that people can be themselves. As long as it's positive, you know, it's just, I want this to be a space that's positive for everyone. The biggest compliment I think I had is someone who came on my show. It was going to be the very first interview. They researched me, and they said, like, I felt like I would be safe on your show, and messaged and said, I would like you to be the first person to interview me with my book. And because I feel safe. And after the experience, he said, that was the best time. I can't even imagine. I never thought I would have so much fun. And I'm just like, that to me was such a humbling thing. And I was so grateful.
I recently had a guest who's been on many, many podcasts and guested. I was shocked I even got them. And they turned around and said, you know, that is the most fun I've ever had on a podcast. And that I was dining on that. My heart was dining on that for days. You know, because that's, you know, if it's not fun, why do it? Right. Exactly. So I like to create that atmosphere of joy.
Yeah.
Right.
It has to be. Yeah. It has to be.
Yeah, for sure.
So you've got your show coming up Monday. It's going to be awesome. You guys check it out. I know a lot of you go in there and check it out as well. And see, Carol Ann's dog Oliver. We all love Oliver as well.
So Carol Ann. She's the one. It's all her fault that I'm here, Carol Ann. So I thought I was going to be a guest, and I walked out a host. This one. She's like, no. You have to. I did the show, and afterwards she's like, no. I have to hook you up with Michelle. No, you have to be a host. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And next thing I know, I have my own show.
Well.
Yeah, she's so good. He's so good. And Sean, he's so beautiful. What a great
manager. Yeah, he's really kind. Yeah. You know what? You know, over the years, not everything's been perfect, and I always say people have a way of weeding themselves out. Yeah. And who we have now, there's not one person that you could not lean on to say, look, I have a guest canceled, I need somebody, or there's always a way to work around it. And that's what we do here. So,
and they make spectacular guests as well. Like, they're not just hosts. They're so knowledgeable.
We're all knowledgeable. Yeah, that's why we're all here.
Everyone is so knowlededable and so connected. And so it's excellent. It's just such an excellent. And what do you guys?
Everyone here has their things.
27 years now?
UPRN has been around about 25, 26, going on 26 years now.
26 years? Yeah, that's a lot.
Just like we are, you know, the podcast division of 2 FM bands, which gives us a lot of other opportunities. You know, like, we're actually heard by millions of people all over the world, but that's because of the FM side, having access to international audio servers that most platforms don't have the option of, you know. And when I look at there are different sites out there that monitor podcasts. And one was sent to us, our producer sent it to me, and it's kind of like a listening score. And out of 3,600,000, well, just shy of 3.7 million that were listened to, that ended up being monitored, us as a global rank, as a network, came in the top 3% of that.
Come on.
Yeah, I had to save the screenshot because it was just amazing.
Wow.
So yeah, so
can you send me that, because I want to post that?
Yeah,
I want to.
Yeah. It was posted. It's probably, they come out like every couple of months or something like that. So I'll dig it up, and then it's amazing.
Feather in your hat, man. Like, and for those of you who
A
don't
lot of hard
understand,
work from everyone.
I will tell you though, for those of you who don't know this business, okay, and radio, there's a lot that Michelle, I don't know how she does it, because she organizes, she hosts, she helps. This is the Wonder Woman of UPRN in the paranormal world.
Oh, thank you.
This woman, she's amazing. And I'm not just saying that. Like, I'm a psychic snob. Okay. I am. I'm very picky with who I hang out with and who I prefer. And you're just amazing. You're just amazing.
Thank you.
And you guys need to know the work she puts in.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Oh, it's a lot of work. Sometimes I have to remind people I'm getting messages. I'm on the air. It's like, can it wait?
We all need to know your schedule as to know.
I know, but by now everybody should. But
I think I've done that. I think I've actually done that.
That's all right.
Help me! Oh my God!
Sometimes you'll see me veer away and go, "Uh-oh, I'm trying to put a fire out," But
oh, you poor girl! Oh my God!
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, there's a lot. There is a lot of better you than me. Thank you. Oh. But anyway, everybody, thank you all for tuning in and hanging out with us. And big thank you, of course, to Angel for joining us. And the website raisingenergy.com. Check it out. It's been up on the board here literally all night. So make a point of definitely checking her out.
Yeah, and I have a blog there too. So whether you book an appointment, check out the blog, because there's all kinds of stuff there about animal communications and other stuff as well. And, all this kind of work and the experiences. So please do check it out, raisingenergy.com.
Check it out. Facebook page as well. Right? YouTube page. Yes. We have been broadcasting live on the Creature Co podcast YouTube page. So check it out. Yep. It's in there. Tomorrow night, Jason Thornton joins me. His book, amazing book, by the way. Why Me? Life, Trauma, Alien Encounters. His book, basically, it is a roller coaster ride of, my God, how can so much stuff happen to one person? He faced things that nobody really should have had to face. But then came the Palladians and over 60 Sarces. And we're pretty much talking hybrid. He's got hybrid children, and he describes this and he talks about it, how he came out of this dark place and how his interactions with the Palladians literally changed his life spiritually, the connection he has to his children, right? Palladian children. It was an amazing read. So, be sure to check us out. Big thank you to Folgers Coffee. Of course, I appreciate you guys so very much. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's been since 2019 that you've been with me. So thank you. And big thank you to Steve McGinnis, United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast, 107.7 FM from New Orleans. So thank you all, and we'll see you tomorrow evening. Good night.
Thanks, everyone.